How's everybody doing today?
Right.
Good, good. Do we have any questions, comments, or feedback from what we've done so far last week or anything? Okay. Um, so this week we're going to cover what I consider one of the most important parts of this material, which is the emotion frequency scale. This is not mine. So I have lifted this from Abraham Hicks, where I've changed the numbers, but not the order. So I found it easier to follow if I ordered it like a European hotel. That is the transition. There's a transition point uh, that's between the positive frequency emotions and the negative frequency emotions. They're all different frequencies, but I mean relative to each other. It's easier to think of the transition point as like ground zero, and the positive ones as being the upper stories, upper floors in a hotel, and the negative ones as being the lower basement levels for parking underneath a hotel. And so that's why I've numbered them that way, and suggest the hotel as an easy way to remember it and to picture it. You want to be on the upper floors where they have windows, and the higher the floor, the better the view. And so the top floors are the best, and the bottom floors aren't that good. And the further down you go, the further back up you have to climb to get back up to the daylight again. So that's kind of the uh, analogy that I have there. So until I found this information about the emotions, I I mean, I knew there were different emotions, but I didn't have any idea about how they might relate to each other, or the frequency of them, or that they had different frequencies. This was all new to me when I first came into it. So it's probably new to you too. I mean, really high probability, I guess. So what about that? Um, any feedback on that? Is this the first time you've seen an emotion scale like this? How about you, Don? You deal with this kind of stuff.
I guess my first experience was about 15 or 20 years ago, a book I read by David Hawkins, who, rates the frequencies of emotions quite a bit.
Was that Hawkins?
Yeah, I think it's David Hawkins.
Hawkins, yes, right. I've read it. Power versus Force
Right.
was the name of his book, right? The one
Yeah.
you to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, right. He does. That was kind of my first idea, my first introduction to all this frequency stuff. That wasn't very long ago for me, uh,
Yeah.
about 5 years ago. But yeah. Mhm. Anybody else?
Yeah, I recently learned about emotional frequencies from one of my other classes, and it really makes you think. There are specific frequencies with each associated with each emotion.
And they're different, and so there's a relative scale of them.
Yes, yes.
Good. So how did the your encounter with him how does it line up with what I've got here?
It's good. It tracks with what I've learned about it.
Oh, good. Good.
And I like your numbering system. It's visually very easy to picture.
Yes. Yeah, that helps my memory with it too.
Yeah, yes.
Having them in a straight list that's just numbered from 1 to 22 didn't help me much. Right, which is how I first encountered them. So the the tipping point, you might say, between them that I've labeled as 0 is not really an emotion. It's kind of like a threshold that you cross. So the emotions are below it and above it. Um, and I've heard different names for it. Uh, one of them is just, letting your emotion that's not satisfying, uh, another way of saying a negative emotion, uh, let it go. Just let it go and relax and give it up. It's like releasing the pain or releasing whatever's holding you back, kind of thing. I've heard it called let go and let God boundary. Um, so it's pleasant on the other side because satisfaction and uh, contentment and replenishment is satisfying, and boredom and stagnation and stuck on the other below lower side isn't. And so the way I've written this book is that each of the formats of the book lets you tear out the last page. So I've got the last page here that I've in my hand. I tore out from one of my books. Is handy for me to use uh, to see how I'm when I'm not feeling that great, to find out which one of these below here I'm on. Now, none of the emotions are bad or good for that matter. Um, they're just uh, they're just telling you where you are. I liken them to the gas gauge on your car. So the gas gauge on your car is not good when it's full and bad when it's empty. It's just a gas gauge. It's there to tell you where you are so you'll know what you have to do next, whether you have to urgently get gas or leisurely or not worry about it for the time being. And so that's kind of what this table is for. And the emotions indicate where you are, and then you can decide what you want to do about it. And so that's the whole point of the game, knowing where you are and then deciding what you want to do about it, which could be nothing. If your emotions good, if you're in satisfaction and contentment, or higher passion, doing what you really love to do, no need to change that. Just get more of it. So that emotion of passion, you probably may have seen the image of the Olympic surfer. That image has kind of gone viral, uh, of his 9.9 rating yesterday, and he's flying through the air with his surfboard in tow as he came off the top of a wave. It's a great picture that the photographer got. I don't know how far up in the air he is, but plenty. um, and with his a hand up in number 1. So he was really up there in passion for sure and joy. I'd like some feedback from folks about this emotion scale and if it might help you uh, or you don't care or what. What's your reaction to that? You look like you're studying it really hard, Lee. What do you think?
Well, I guess you caught me. I'm trying to read it and catch up. I haven't read this part, Duncan. So I'm just trying to listen to you and read it and take a look at it. But it I think it's something that's definitely useful. Like you said, it lets you know where you are, and whatever situation you're in, that's usually the first thing you have to do if you're going to try to solve it. Is you've got to be truthful with yourself and admit where you are. And then once you've done that, then you've got to decide how you're going to work this out, or what your what your solution paths might be if there are any.
Right, that's for sure. So you're perfectly correct. Knowing where you are is the first step. And so acknowledging your emotion is good, is a good step. So the emotions are good, even the ones that are down there at the bottom, they're good because they tell you what's going on where you are. So there are two things that emotions tell us. One is how well we're playing the game of life. So it's sort of like an instantaneous score. If we're in the emotions, uh, we're not playing it as well as we could. If we're in the upper emotions, we're playing it really well. I mean, because we're here to have fun. Obviously, if we're in the lower emotions, it's not being fun, so we're not playing that well at the moment. But it's also an indication of, so where does the emotion come from? Well, the emotion comes from, I've got a desire, I've got something I'm thinking about, and I have, from what we talked about before, because I've got an inner spirit or a superconscious component as well, who is also focused on the same thing I am. But the super conscious, divine, spirit like part of me is focused on it in a loving, non-judgmental way, and with the best intention for me to be happy. And so that thought about the subject, if it's different than my thought, because I'm looking at it as something bad for me, or something I don't want, there's a conflict between those two thoughts. And the synchronicity or lack of it between the two thoughts is what gives rise to the chemicals in our body that create the emotions. It's what gives rise to our emotions. So our emotions are an indicator about this, how well the frequency of our thoughts and the frequency of our inner beings, inner self, inner spirit's thoughts match. When they're high frequency, it means they're matching. When they're lower frequency, it means they're not matching. And the reason for that is because the frequency of the thoughts of the spiritual part of us are always high frequency. And so if we're up high frequency, we're matching, we're happy, we're enjoying or passion. And when we're thinking that this is terrible, I'm in pain, I'm suffering, I hate somebody, I'm fearful, then that's a low frequency, not matching. So that's one of the things that the emotions tell us. So I know that's kind of an abstract concept, And I'm taking it on the word of my mentors because it seems to work for me. So that's all I can say about how do I know that, or what's my proof of that. I don't really have any, but it seems to work, so that's why I'm going to stick with it. Any comments or feedback or questions about that part?
It seems like that's the acid test for everything. If it works, it's good. Works mean if you're on the upper side of the happiness scale, that's where you want to be, and that's the purpose of life. And have fun, enjoy yourself, and productive, and all the other things you want to attach to it. And if you're not, it gives you an alarm bell that hey, maybe something's wrong. And I think Don said this earlier, but the scale at least makes you take the next step of identifying what the problem is. Instead, I feel crappy and what's the problem? The whole world's bad. Well, maybe this helps you to identify it and become more aware of it. And you can't fix a problem you're not aware of.
Right. Right. It also gives you, you can look at it like a staircase, which is when you find yourself on a lower level, you can get yourself up by thinking about, talking to yourself about, envisioning or looking at, thinking about something that's gives you an emotion higher up. So like maybe I said once before that I have a couple of images that I keep on my desktop of some art that I did that I'm really happy about how it came out and how successful it was. And whenever I feel down, I can look at that and it helps me climb back up to a higher emotion, which is what I want all the time. So okay, so remember that when I talk about positive and negative, I'm not talking good or bad. I'm just talking about relative to each other. We've placed them relative to each other. So I would say that anger or doubt or disappointment, frustration, pessimism is no worse than satisfaction or enthusiasm. It's lower on the scale. I don't really want it, but when I have some of any of those, it's a good thing because I recognize it if I recognize it and know it. So it's like they're indicators. And then I can do something about changing it if I don't like it. And if I like it, I can stay there. Sometimes when you're angry or worried or something, you recognize that and you're not ready to change. And so you stay there a while, but that's okay. As long as you're going to keep feeling not that great. So eventually you'll change your mind and climb up. Okay. I prepared this website that has the book on it before I wrote the book. I prepared the website as a place to put my ideas before I wrote the book. And when I was preparing this morning, or yesterday really, I noticed that I had something in my book that I think is valuable for you, that it was not on the website. So I've added it. I just added it this morning, but I want to read it to you. And it was after my wife died and I was in the grieving process, I did a grief yoga that I found, which was really interesting because the person who invented it invented a number of yoga actions that he put in the yoga routine that helped you get rid of your grief. It was things like pulling weeds and other actions. I don't remember all of them, but a number of them. And so it was useful for me. And what it did is it helped me realize that I had anger that I had stuffed all my life because I had, well, that's the way I grew up. Believing, being told and believing that you shouldn't show your emotions, particularly anger. And so I didn't really realize that. And during this period, I did. And I was inspired to write a poem, even though I wasn't writing poetry or wasn't writing anything at the time. But anyway, this just sort of came out as at one of these yoga sessions. So I just wrote it right after the yoga thing was finished. So I want to read it to you. It's now on the website and it's in my book as well. Anger, none, I thought. Anger, none, I thought. I have no anger about my loss. None at her, none at the doctors, none at God, not at life, not at death, not at me. Nope, not at anyone, not at all. Grief yoga, they call it. Boxing, gardening, trash removal, sanitation, tuned to heartbeat, breath, vocal vibration. Anger, none, I thought. Then I found a tiny insult here, a small disappointment there, a minor refusal, a petite denial, a lack expressed, a lie, a layoff, a credit denial, a love request rejected. Through the years, a stream of little angers, discounted, swallowed, buried, taught. Like pricked water balloon, I squirted. The flooded, belied anger, none, I thought. Yank, pull, toss, weed, groan, eject, laugh, nonsense, speak, vibrate, twirl, breathe, cry, clear, heal, forgive, grow, realize, restore, move, twist, expand, breathe, tears release yet more, de-anger, de-grieve, forgive myself, breathe, do it on a yoga mat. Anger none, I thought. Now, anger less, I know. And that's when I began to grow and be more aware of my emotions. That was about 9 years ago now. So there. All right. Any more on anger before we move on to the game of life rules? I mean, any more on emotions? Would I say any more on anger? Any more on emotions?
Well, I'll say one thing that my experience has been that all emotions are caused by your thinking. So whatever you can do to change your thinking can pretty quickly eliminate what you call negative emotions.
I certainly agree with that. Yes. Sometimes our emotions seem like they came from nowhere, but they're from sometimes habits or things that we've repeated. But when that happens, as soon as we realize they're there, then we can change our thoughts too. It's a thought that sometimes spontaneously arises as a habit, habitual thinking. Yeah. But it's a thought. You're right. Welcome, Virginia. Anything else on emotions? Lisa, Yvonne, Judy, Eva, Virginia,
I have emotions.
you have emotions?
Yes.
Oh, did I,
But
did I find
yeah,
that out? Yes.
but like you, I was trained not to believe in it. It's a very bad thing. So I worked really hard to deny that I was ever angry. Resentful, I knew resentful a little bit, but I felt guilty about it. So all these years later, when I discovered this thing in your book, this emotional guidance scale, then first time I ever was able to accept my emotions and not try to deny them and identify them. Because I remember saying years ago, I didn't feel any pain by not feeling my emotion. I managed to not feel any pain, but I didn't feel any joy either. I wasn't happy. I wasn't laughing and dancing. But so it was a big deal to acknowledge my emotions. So even now, it's like I don't beat myself up because I'm pissed off with somebody. I just realized, damn, I did it again. I'm not seeing them as God sees them. That I can forgive them immediately if I want to be happy. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. I loved your poem. Beautiful poem.
I guess the process of writing the poem itself makes you more aware of where you are, what you're doing, how you're feeling. And if you're more aware, you got an avenue to correct it, so that's good therapy.
It was really good therapy. I mean, it amazed me. I mean, it really did. I really never thought that I was ever angry until we started doing that. And then I realized that there was all these things. I mean, that I'm sure I was angry about and stuffed it, so I denied it. I mean, getting laid off. I mean, that was a biggie. Okay. So the other thing we're covering today is the rules, life's rules. The big deal about the instruction book is we covered laws because we don't get a choice about those, but rules you can break. So these are the ones that are fragile, breakable. We can break these. So rule number 1, love myself. Very simple. Love and accept myself. And that's very hard for some people to do. But we were created good and we remain good. We remain as we were created. We remain as spin-offs of all of the divine and worthy of every blessing that's possible, every good thing that's possible in this life, on this planet. We're deserving of them, worthy and deserving. And we need to accept that. So whenever anybody's having thoughts of self-hate or suicide or something like that, even lesser than that, sometimes people just don't like themselves. That's they're breaking this particular rule of life. But we have free will, choice, and we can break these rules. They're not like the laws. Any feedback? What's the feedback on rule number one? Love myself. Did you expect that one to be number one?
Mhm.
Nope. But it is, because you can't do anything else. That one's not working. If you're not living by that one, you can't do number two or three if rule one's broken.
Well, I'm hearing a scripture about loving your neighbor as yourself. So I remember when I first thought self-love was a very selfish thing, to put other people first. But I think what it means is if you can't love yourself, appreciate yourself, then, or forgive yourself, usually that's what it is. We've condemned ourselves and now we have to forgive ourselves, which I said was the first biggie. But then you can, you can love other people. Otherwise, it's hard.
Yeah. If you don't like yourself, it's hard to, I mean, when you follow rule number two, which is treat others as you want them to treat you, if you don't love yourself, then you're not them well either. So number two, I think most of us have heard the golden rule: treat others as you want them to treat you, or as you want people to treat you. Yes. What's the comments about that?
I've heard
Go ahead.
recently that every religion has the same thing. Every religion has the same do unto others as you have them do to you, in different wording, but it's the same. So, and that's another way that we're all connected.
I have a little different perspective on that. My perspective is to treat others as they would like to be treated. Because the way that I would like to be treated might not be the way you would like to be treated.
I
That's
heard that that's the platinum rule.
oh, that's good. I haven't heard that one.
Yes, everyone knows about the golden rule, but that one was I recently found out that's called the platinum rule.
I like that. I think I'll put that in my book if you don't, because that's true. I mean, some people, um, don't care that much about how others treat them, but for a very sensitive person, they want to be treated like they want to be treated.
Mhm.
That's right.
It's kind of like great customer service is you go in and you read the customer and you listen to how they're speaking about themselves, about others, about what they're going through. And you kind of chameleonize yourself. I'm a nurse. I worked in hospice for many years. And so when you walk into a situation, everyone is going to be handling it differently. I mean, some people are, textbook, they're grieving and it's difficult to hear. And others are just waiting. It's been a long time. So it takes a special person, I think, to be able to sit back and put your own emotions aside for a little bit, to honor the needs of others. And it doesn't mean that we don't take care of ourselves. It's just that when we are on, that's what we're focused on.
Good. That's great. I like that. Thank you, Don, Lisa, and Noel. I know Yvonne wants to speak, but you can't find her button to turn it on. So we see your enthusiasm, Yvonne. Anything else on that one? I like that platinum rule. I think very much. Well, how about rule 3? Have fun. Do you think that's really a rule? Or is that one I just made up? You think that's really part of the rules for the game of life that we're here for?
I do. Forces a balance. You know, my mother was the world's greatest martyr, and she had a little fun, but not too much. And it really taught me to not do that, that you have to work at bringing joy into your life so that when you're in those deep moments, you have something to look forward to when you're able to look up.
Anybody else? Besides Lisa, did anybody else ever think that have fun was one of life's rules?
I didn't expect it, but I appreciate it. It's I think having fun and laughing are essential to our well-being.
And that's because the way we're made is we're made that's part of it. After all, the all has fun. All has fun creating things, creating universes, people, animals. So, and we're spin-offs or droplets from all. And so having fun is in our nature as well. So is creativity in our nature.
I made a rule for myself when I was getting divorced, and it was, so incredibly depressing and difficult, that I would never turn down a social invitation, because that was going to be my saving grace to get me out, to force me to get out with people and forcibly bring in that bit of joy that I was missing. So that was one rule for myself that I
Yep.
made up to make sure I was getting some kind of laughter and joy.
That's good. Larry?
I kind of agree with having fun. It just this part of me keeps coming back. You can have fun in many different ways. I mean, if you're a good person, they're all going to be probably positive, but I can see being. I mean, is there a trivial part? Are they all fun good? Is there a trivial part that's not bad, but does it take you to where you want to be? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but
Well, I think each
I
person has
respect-
to figure out what that means for them. I mean, somebody might do something that I think is trivial, but for them it's really useful and fun.
I had a brother-in-law one time that was fun, but it was more buffoon-like than I mean, there was never any substance to it, and he's not with us anymore. But there's a triviality part of it. Lack gravity. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. I agree with the fun part. I just it seems like to me a life has fun and an element of productivity. The whole idea of expanding yourself and becoming more than you were yesterday, and do it in a fun way, is I think the goal. Just to have fun and be exactly like you were yesterday. I'm not sure if that's one of my goals.
Well, it doesn't have to be your goal, but it might be somebody else's.
That's true.
So um, I sympathize with you, Larry, because I kind of feel that way too. If something's not productive, it's doesn't make sense to me. But I need to this rule is for me because I don't do enough of it.
Yeah.
So in fact, when I was writing this, I did not think of this rule at first. it only came to me after, I think by inspiration, but once I got it, I realized how valid it was, but it wasn't my first thought. So I understand that, but I think it should be.
Yeah, I think it should be too. I've been accused of being a stick in the mud, and they were probably correct. So maybe that'll get you out of the stick in the mud category.
That's right. That's what this is about. Don't be a stick in the mud rule, right? Kind
Well, I
of.
think you can balance it too, going back to the emotional frequency. If you've heard of people who go through some bad times and then they have some risky behavior. They buy a flashy new sports car, and they go bungee jumping or something crazy. And that might be their balance, going from an emotional low level to needing to balance it with a very high ecstatic level. So I think you can determine your level, your desire to get where you are, depending on where you are in this moment.
We're each on a different path through this. Yes. Virginia?
I think it was brilliant to give it equal weight as a rule. I don't think I've ever heard that anywhere else, giving equal weight to having fun as one of the rules of life. And I think it's become clear from this discussion that people find fun in different ways. Like writing for you, writing this book may have been fun, and dancing may be fun for someone else. But the fact that you've moved it to the forefront of our minds as something deserving of equal weight to have balance in our lives is, I think, brilliant.
Well, I've got to attribute this to my to Soaring Eagle, my inspiration guide, because that's where it came from. So not from me directly. That's why it came after the fact.
How did that come about? I'm not following you from Soaring Eagle.
Well, that's the name I've given to my inner spirit that is my inspiration.
Oh.
And so this one morning when I was writing, it just came to me that there's a missing rule. And when I started thinking about that, I got the message. The missing rule is you've got to have fun. And so I wrote it. But that's what happened. I was reviewing what I had written, the other two rules, and suddenly realized there's a missing rule. And this is it. This was it.
Yeah, great.
So anyway, lots of artists, painters, writers, musicians have acknowledged that their inspiration is coming from elsewhere, and I'm acknowledging that as well. The entity that wrote this book was my hand and pen, and some of my words and some that were beyond me, but they wound up here anyway. That's what that poem was like. That's where that came from. I hadn't written any poetry before that. So just anyway. Okay, what else? We're doing great, I think. So how does this having fun and the emotion scale, what's going to be different? What are you going to take away from this week? That's useful for you.
Yvonne, maybe you can write your notes in the chat. Oh, okay.
I'd love to be able to turn yours on, but I don't think I can. But I can try, I can ask you to unmute. Maybe the asking you gives you something to do. I'm asking you to unmute.
You. Okay, I'm unmuted. Oh, you're gonna be so sorry. No, no, I think this is wonderful. But remember when we came here, weren't we supposed to be coming here to have fun and enjoy where this beautiful earth that we're on? I think that was the purpose, the first purpose for coming here. But it's hard to get joy when you've lost your significant other. And so I make myself I make myself get out there too. I'm in the DAR and I try to attend all the functions, and somewhere I might meet somebody or have a good time, and it's worth it, just getting yourself out there. And I think joy is very important. And I'm going to be a great grandmother in January, so that's going to bring me a lot of joy too. My Hannah's going to have a little baby girl. So I'm looking forward to that. So I think you got some real good drills, and I loved your poem. It was beautiful. And it was very applicable to lots of people's situations. I can see that. So I'm enjoying and I'm learning, and I'm starting to think about my inner self and how to better improve it and work toward getting more joy, and not to feel guilty about getting joy, because some people, I think they have to be doing something and working all the time and giving to others, and I do my share of that. So I'm thinking it's time to have joy. You're right. And you and Eva are doing that. You're going away all the time. I got to find a partner. Okay. Anyway, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I also enjoyed your poem. I think it was very profound, and I feel your journey. So thank you for putting that out to the world. I think more people than you know understand it and appreciate it.
Amen.
Good. That was my goal. Virginia?
So one takeaway for me is to give equal weight to having fun. As some of the people on this panel have already mentioned, for me also, having fun seemed trivial. It never seemed like a goal. It was certainly something that I did, but when you think about the goals of life, having fun was not one of them. It was achieving your degrees and achieving in school and achieving at work and achieving a career or in your career. And having fun was a trivial thing you did on the side. But now I will be giving it equal weight for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I may not be doing it anymore than I'm already doing it. I'm doing it a lot, but now I can feel that this is a weighty thing I'm doing here.
You can feel joy instead of guilt when you're having joy.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly. I think we all feel guilty when we're having fun. And so thank you for allowing us to let go of that guilt and just enjoy it.
Kick up your heels.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I never felt guilt about it, but I always felt it was off goal. It's time off kind of thing. But now it's time on.
That's good.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you are in the upper emotions, you're playing the game of life optimally. That's a gauge. So the scale is actually an instantaneous gauge of how you're playing at that instant. And so the more time you spend up here is the more time you're playing the game well. because that's what we're here for. We're here, yes, to
Mhm.
enjoy and have and be happy. And actually by being happy, we are helping other people because our high frequency energy, that's what it is, happiness, high frequency energy, is radiating out and, calming the other atmosphere or whatever around us. It's having an effect. Yeah.
Agree with that. I think when you're a joyful person, you're going to make other people joyful to also. Exactly. So we ought to all start laughing. We're in that
The
kind
law,
of yes,
the
a
laws of
lot.
attraction.
That's it. The law of attraction. Yeah.
Yep.
What you put out is going to come back, and it's going to influence other people too. Oh, that's what I didn't mention is the boomerang effect. So rule 2, yes, rule 2, the golden rule, works like a boomerang. What you put out, the way you treat others, is the way that you wind up getting treated. And that there's sayings about that, what
Comes around, comes around, comes around.
that's right. Comes around, which is get back. And so it's acknowledgement of that's the way life works. And we know that. So put out happiness and joy.
Mhm. That's true.
All right. So next week we'll take the next chapters. Everybody now finding where to find the material and read it. Find the page where where the Zoom link always is, where the recording will be. I'll get the recording out tomorrow for sure.
Mhm.
I
And
couldn't, when I, um, when I pressed on the different things that would give you to another place, I get to the 1 through 7 or whatever, but it wouldn't give me any information. It just stopped there.
so it went to
When I wanted to find out for this week, I couldn't find out any information. I couldn't read ahead.
okay. So on the page where it has each of the weeks in blue,
Mhm.
and then underneath in black it has the titles.
Yes.
When you click on the blue, each of the blues is a link to the text of those chapters below it. So where it says week or next one, week 5, and the date, August 7, I believe. It's in blue. When you click on that, you will get the chapters, the text of the chapters that you can read.
It would underline it when I would click on it, it would underline it, but then it wouldn't go anywhere.
Did you click on it?
Yes, and I clicked on, and so it would zoom, and it said zoom, and it would underline it, but then that was all. They wouldn't go anywhere.
You talking about trying to read the material or the Zoom?
Yes, that's that. Yes.
Okay, I will check on that. It should be working fine. I thought I tested it all, so I apologize if you're having trouble.
No, that's okay. I would have liked to read it ahead, but I understand that glitches can happen, and maybe it's my fault, but when I did it, it should have done it because it acted like it was going to.
What I find whenever something doesn't work right on a page is I click on the little circle in front of the address, which reloads the page, and I would try that next time.
All right, thank you.
Maybe something went wrong with it when it loaded. So you know what I'm talking about? The little circle in front of on the address line in the browser is usually a little arrow round arrow, which reloads the page.
Okay.
And I will go check it when I finish, make sure it's working okay. Oh,
Yes.
this one too.
This was very helpful. It was a very interesting lesson. I really, especially that about humor. I think we found that there's more that my husband and I, he always would tell me jokes every day, and he still does. And I would laugh, but this is different. Now we tell jokes about dying and to answer Larry, I guess it would seem to him that they wouldn't be funny, but to us they're hilarious. So so just
That's
to let you know that
That's
you can laugh about anything.
right. And so remember that the law of diversity is part of our environment. We're all different. We're all on our own little path. And some things that of one person doesn't make sense to another. That's just the way it is. And yeah.
Yeah, we both had we both within the week have had a test, and there one is for cancer and one is for his immune system, and so we're really at a crossing that we don't know what's going to happen, and yet we're laughing about it. We're making jokes about it.
And you're affecting the result by doing that. So the energy you're putting out is affecting the results. It really happens.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm convinced it is. You can stay with could be for now, but I'm convinced it does.
Thank you.
Well, I've seen that. I have seen that because of
I have to go.
a
Bye.
positive.
I enjoyed. Bye.
Bye. Because of a positive attitude, I get along.
Great. Virginia, you got something?
Yes, quick question. You said when we're having fun that we're living up here, we're up here at this level. Can you clarify what you meant by that?
I just meant in the upper frequencies of the emotion scale.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I meant we're up here. Up here this is the emotion scale. We're up
Right.
part above the yellow, which is the ground zero kind of thing.
So if we're out somewhere having fun and we're up here and we're laughing our heads off, might that be a time when we should quickly visualize what it is we want to achieve or accomplish?
Well, you can
have
do what you want at any time, but when you're in the upper levels, it's more effective. Yes.
Yeah. Great.
It is.
Okay,
It
thank
is.
you for that. Thank you. That's like a nugget, right? That's really good.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, that's been an hour. I appreciate all of your input. This was really good. What we're going to begin doing now that we have the laws and the rules, and we know that we're the players, and we know that all's the creator, we're going to get into how do you really play the game? So gameplay and scoring and umpires and all of that is in your future. So read up on week 5 and we'll see you in a week.
Great. Thank you so much, Duncan.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Virginia.